So that's really what we're going to do in the course is deep dive into how does citizenship really work? What can we do to preserve these rights?
I have a quick comment on that, and that is that it depends on where you live, maybe. Because if you live in Nevada or Texas or someplace like that, which is a little more free, a little more open, maybe you do take those for granted. But I live in California,
right?
And so I understand that I see the erosion.
Yeah, you've seen the infringement. You've seen them little by little start to take away your right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, and it starts as a trickle, and then and then it's a full river. And so I see that, and I'm looking forward to you helping us learn what to do in order to reverse that.
Well, this really fits, Brad, with your talk on moral and ethical decisions and using deadly force, because you talk about the difference between morals and ethics,
right.
The fact that society decides what the ethics of that culture, what they're going to be. And fortunately for us, the ethics of the founding of our country, back then the society said, hey, right to keep and bear arms is essential. It's part of the laws of nature. We want to make sure it's part of our culture. It's been that way for 230 years, but sometimes you can feel that sand shifting, right? I mean, things are changing and the attitudes are changing out there. And so it's up to us as citizens to influence what those attitudes are. Otherwise, we're going to wake up and society is going to decide, hey, you guys no longer have the right to keep and bear arms. We're just going to let the government take care of that. No longer do you get to defend yourself.
Right. So basically you're saying the way to prevent that erosion of liberty then is to study the roots of that liberty.
Exactly right. No, it's exactly right. And I would say, I kind of stole that line, I would say, because John Jay's the one that really said it. He was our first Chief Justice. And he said every single citizen ought to study the Constitution. Not just read it, but study it so that we can teach the rising generation to be free. So as these kids are coming up now, we got to know what our rights are, teach the next generation what those rights are. And then he said if we know our rights, if we've actually studied, if we found it in the Constitution and understood where it came from, then we'll be ready. We'll recognize when those rights have been violated, and we'll be the better prepared, he said, to defend and assert those rights. Which means if we know those rights, we know where they came from, we know what the founders actually meant, when California or the federal government or whoever starts infringing on them, we can say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. We know what our rights are. We can stand up for those things peaceably, right? We just engage in the process. There's plenty of, at our fingertips, we got everything we need to peaceably assert, as John Jay said, those rights. That's what we're going to learn how to do.